Wanna ride with me, catch a vibe with me, go get out with me, yeah. Shawty, I'm a riding G, I'm a dying piece, I'm a ride with me.
So this is the Mosquito at night. Now one thing, if you try and bring up this and try and put something on it, it will not work until you've got one of the windows open. So make sure you open up one of the windows. If you need a flashlight, left Alt and L on the keyboard, you've got a flashlight. You can look around, open your windows. You can also open up down here. And then you've got that out of the way. Now you can go outside and you can put on whatever it is you want to put in your load. So we'll just put some bombs in the internal. At this point we can't put fuel tanks in the internal, but I'm sure that's coming. So you've got your layout. I'm just going to change the fuel load to 50 or 45 will do, and we'll change it to ground attack. Change the livery and click OK. You can bring your flashlight up if you need it. Just going to look down here. I'm right clicking, right click, right click, right click, right click, and then open up these four. Now pretty much you can start turning on these lights. And we'll show you where they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can take that off. Now you can jump into the secondary position, and there should be a little light back here and a little light up here, which then lets you look at everything back there. You can also close this and shut that down. You can see what that looks like at night. Now it gets a lot cooler than this, because what you can actually do is you've got a little switch up here which says UV light. So if left click, nav light, we'll just go up a little bit so we can click on some of these buttons. Nav light, pitot heat, reflector sight, nav headlamp. We'll put all those on. Okay. Got the sun up there. Now, because we've got that UV light on, what we can do is we can turn on a couple of lights here, one there, and we can turn on another one there. Now, you won't see anything until you turn these other lights off. So, if we go down to here and turn this one off, and turn that one off, you can now see we've got this blue glow. We can turn off this one, and now look at it. What do you think of that? I may leave this light on and just that one pointing down, but then the rest are all like blue like this, and you can even see the blue from the external. You can see that blue glow just from outside. Very cool. You can also see the internal lights on in the plane. Very, very cool indeed. So then we can start the plane because we've finished doing that fuel. You can look at your fuel tanks here. We've got these four open. We're just going to bring up the communication menu and tell them to prime the engine. We'll jump over to this other side. Just keep in mind you've got this door open. We can close it now, so that little door's closed. Over here, I'm just going to bring up my flashlight. And then I'm going to make it to the external, left click, right click, right click. And then we're just keeping in mind what we've got going on here for the fuel transfer valve. In case we run out of fuel on the outer tanks, we can then start filling it up because we put some fuel tanks on the wings. At the moment, it's not quite in line, but you can't see that very well at night. And it's not too important. I'm sure they'll fix that. But it looks really good overall. It's very fun to fly. The flight model seems to be pretty cool. So, of course, you've got this blue and green lighting going on. Also very cool. So let's start this plane. We've got most things set up as much as we can at the moment. So we're just going down to here, left click and then right click. That one should start up. That one's done. And then left click and then right click. Looks like it started, so we're all good there. We can close that cover and close that cover, and that's all done. We can zoom out for a little bit. We've got our little marker on here. Now, if you're wondering how to operate the bombs and the guns, you can go over to here, left click here once and left click again. That turns on the guns. To operate the bombs, you've got to first open the bomb door, right click, or left click, sorry, to open the bomb door. It goes down, and the bomb doors will slowly open down here. You'll know if they're open by a little light that's over here. So if you right click underneath that, there is a light, and it will come on once the bomb doors are open. So if you see here, I just left clicked and then right clicked to open up that little switch, and then there'll be a little light on once it's fully open. I think it's almost there. Yeah, it's almost there now. And so that light will come on once that's all the way open. There you go. See the little light. Now to actually operate the bombs, there's a few more things. We're going to left click here once, opens up that door. Left click once here to turn on the bombs. And then you need to work out, are the bombs on your wings or inside the bomb bay? In this case they're in the bomb bay, so we use 3 and 4. So we turn on and turn on. Now if you go and drop them and they're not going off, it's because we didn't also set this, the fusing, left click and left click. And then that's everything set up for the bombs. You cannot close this little plastic window if you want to keep this on. Like, you can close that switch and then right click and close it, so it's still ready to go with the buttons down below. But when you finally want to drop, you're going to have to left click, and then you're ready to drop the bombs. So you can prepare a little bit like that. We'll just go for a small little flight and we'll get the flaps down. Release that, get the flaps going down. Got about 10 degrees. 10, 11, 12, 13. That'll do. Then we're just going to change this a little bit over. And this one, I would go not to the first dot, but to the second. And then you're good. Especially with this much on the plane at the moment. Everything else we can turn off the lights. Some other things up here is your speedo. It first uses the outer, and then it uses the inner. So that's your speedo, and then you've got your altitude, RPMs. This is your boost gauges down here. Somewhere around 8 is a good figure to be on. Anything above 8, you probably want to know what you're doing. You've got your supercharger switches down here, if we turn our light on. So low gear for the mixture, and then right click it, and then this is for when we're in high altitudes, you'll swap it up to there, but for takeoff, just keep it in the low. And there's also a supercharger here you can turn on when needed. I'll just keep it in the off position for the moment. What is very cool is there's some landing lights down here, so right click and right click. If you go into the outside view, there's these little things coming out on the wings. They slowly come down, so don't think they'll come out instantly, and then look at that, they light up, and there's your plane at night. Some pretty good illumination in front of you. I'm impressed. This plane is lit up very, very well. It'll be easy to see it in the sky lit up like this. So, okay, all of that's done. We'll see if we can do a takeoff in the night. We got most things ready that we want to have ready. Don't think you'd normally take off with the bomb bay door open, but you know, we can try. So, for now, we can just get ourselves ready. If you're looking at your fuel, when this runs to 0, because we've got the fuel tanks on the outside, you would need to hit this button over here. So you might want to put that on a switch somewhere. And then fuel transfer valve, and then it can start using the drop tanks you've got on the wings. Once it's used up all of that fuel, you can then jettison them with this up here. Wing tank jettison, right click, and then you can left click that and it will jettison the fuel. So there's that. Also over here is another jettison. To jettison containers, lift the flap and press, and then you can just left click and it'll jettison it from there as well. So that's the two places that you can jettison. I'm just going to keep that closed for the moment because I don't need that. If you're wondering what buttons you need to push on the keyboard or the joystick, for the cannons and the machine guns, we're using fire cannons, and then we're using fire machine guns, and then to do the bomb drop, you're using trigger button release bomb gun cam on, using that one. So that's all the buttons that you're using. If you're looking at your joystick, it'll be this button, and that button. They're the three buttons that are used. I think I mentioned that you can fire cannons on the ground, and you can, so we'll just demonstrate that. The cannons are machine guns. That's the machine guns. That's the cannons. You can fire both at once. Very cool. And then of course you can do your bomb release as well. So that's all of that. We'll see if we can take off, and we'll just take a small little flight. Hope you found that information helpful. That's all ready to go. We just got to start taxiing ourselves. So we're just going to tap our release for the brake. Give a plane just a little bit. Also get rid of this flashlight now because that's just going to get annoying. Visibility on this plane is pretty good. There may be times you want to turn that light off behind you, as you can see, because it could be blinding, but we're just keeping it on for the moment. Okay, we're lined up. And we're pretty much ready to go. We are very heavy, so this is not an easy takeoff. Just bringing that gear in. We did one thing wrong then, we didn't have the radiator on, and you can see the result. See how it goes in this flight. It's a good experiment. see how long it lasts. So we want to go down to there somewhere. And we need a direction, something like 150. Because we are in the sky now, we can probably turn this off. I may leave the left one open because it seems to be in a bit of trouble. 150. We know our gear is in because we can see these two red lights. Fuel is quite low. We can test that out as well. Not sure how that left engine's going. We've got the fuel. Fuel went out. Now it's using the drop tanks. That left engine looks like it's recovered. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So what we did then is we simply went to the joystick and we pushed the fuel transfer line valve button once the fuel was out. And so if we go over to here, all we're hitting is this little button down here. If I can give you a view and still fly the plane. We're hitting that button down there. But I've got that set to something so that I could hit it just when I needed to. And you can see I didn't have to do it straight away, I could just do it. I had heaps of time to go and hit that button. So that also gives you an idea of how much fuel you would have if you put 50% in the plane. If you try to put less than 50% in the plane, you'll find it just won't do it. That's what I've been seeing. You have to put like 42%, fuel in the plane, otherwise I won't do any less than that. But 50 I did just then, and you can see how long that lasts you. You can see now the fuel gauge down here. This is the relevant one. So it's on empty, but it's been using the wing tanks now. Now where we're going to run into difficulty is if the wing tanks become empty as well. We've then got to go back down here, and we're going to have to switch this to main tank, main tank. So we've got no idea of how much fuel is in those drop tanks from what I can tell. We've got some enemies down there. So we'll see if we can drop something on them. If we can, cool. If we can't, that's okay too. I did do it before and was successful. My gear should be up. I'm going to be lit up, very much so. You can see the awesome visual ability to look around. We got it right in the center just then. That's pretty cool. Okay, we'll see if we can fly back now. That left one is no longer smoking, which is very cool, so we could maybe do a small flyover. And then you can shut this. We'll have a little look just to see the bombs are actually gone. You can see under there, there's no bombs. They dropped. Not sure how we're going on the fuel tanks, because we're using those external dump tanks, but what's really interesting here is it's actually come up. Look at that. So when this goes back down to 0, you know it's time to swap, because it's actually pumping quicker than it's going down now. So that answers everything that I had as far as, is there a way to know what's going on with the wing tanks? Well, you can, because you can see here. So awesome. We're heading north, and we're just going to go back up to East Church up there, and we'll see if we can land back up there. Plane's doing okay. We might be able to turn off this now, I'm not sure. Hopefully that engine is okay. Seems to have recovered a little bit for me. We've got the boost a little bit too high, so we're just bringing that back to 8. We're not going to try to supercharge or high gear, we're just flying low. We can put this on just before we land. We don't need that at the moment. Look out that window, look out that window, very easy to do. Got our machine guns here, you can close that up and then that's all done. This is also all done. You can also close your bomb bay doors, so we're just going to hit that, switch it to up. You can see the bomb bay doors closing. Very, very cool. We're just flying north at the moment. We seem to be going about the right direction, so that's very cool. If I can get it better, we want to head at 342. So we're just looking down here, 342, we're at 330, so if we change it to slightly to the right. That'll do. A little bit brighter in the morning now. Which is definitely what we want for landing. You cannot open this while in flight, so if you're wondering, you cannot open that while in flight. She's so stable, like it's a very stable plane. A lot of the World War II planes, I would say, kind of feel floaty at first until you get your trim in place, and then when you get your trim in place, it loses a little bit of that floatiness. They're still kind of floaty, but they do lose a bit of that floatiness. Also interesting that I've got this all the way back at the moment. I'm going to just change that. So normally, if you're doing a takeoff, you would have that forward, you would have these two down, and then you take off. But my aim was really just to show the night lighting, the bombs, and the guns. And then you've also additionally learnt a little bit about how the fuel works. You could definitely work out how the fuel works from this video. One thing though, it doesn't seem to be implemented yet, but if you can put the fuel tanks in the inside of the plane, and then you're going to use them, you can hit this switch, the fuel pump, to activate them. So you'll hit the fuel pump and then you'll get the fuel out of them and then obviously swap back to your other tanks. But that's what that fuel pump switch is for. So just be aware. But we didn't need to use that DEM, we just needed to use the other switch, which I showed. Look how much fuel's gone in. That's coming from the drop tank. So once we think this is starting to go down, then it will have fully drained these wing tanks. And then we could basically just jettison them. We're going to have so much fuel for this landing, but I think we can just jettison them anyway. So what we'll do is we'll prepare. We're going to swap this over to the main tank. It's on the main tank, main tank. We can take this off. We don't need to be putting any more fuel in to the other one. So that's finished with. That's stopping the fuel drain. It's also not taking any fuel from there. It's taking the fuel from here, our main tank now. And then we can try and jettison those wing tanks. So we had a little switch over here. And looks like they're jettisoned. You can see them falling down there. So that's been successful as well. We can then close that little flap cover. That's how you jettison the tanks. And we'll just head over towards the left here a little bit. Just want to keep an eye on my altitude. We're about 4,000, we're okay. We should be able to find this runway, but we'll see how we go. We'll also maybe want to drop our flaps. You can notice my flaps have been out the whole time. You wouldn't normally do that. You'd be bringing your flaps up. But by doing that, I've just changed my whole adjustment on the plane. So release, put that down, bring it up, that'll do. We could probably put them down a little bit more. We may do that if we need to. Okay, so we've massively overflown it. So that island off to our left there. I'm seeing some land way up here which we can't see on the map. And that could be the base. Down there. In fact, I think that is the base. So we've got the base now. We can work out what we want to do. Just want to burn off that altitude first. Then we can consider our other things. And our air base down there, we should be right above it. We are. So we'll go out here somewhere and then turn around about there and we'll be able to come in for a landing. And you can see that speed coming down. Got to keep trimming it if you want to help make it easier to fly. About 200 now. Slowly bring it around. We can see under there towards where we need to go. It's really losing that speed in the turn. Definitely difficult to work out where it is at night. Very early hours of the morning I'm struggling to see it. But it seems like there's a runway in that direction. So that's Swirly River. And there's past the Swirly River. Maybe. Okay, so we'll try and bring up the flaps a little bit more. 30 flaps. I'm hoping there's a runway in front of me. Oh my gosh, it's down there. We can work with that. I'm pretty slow now. It'll be difficult on this turn if we try to do this, but let's get our gear down. Gears down. And we're about 30 flaps or something. Just watching that speed. With these World War II planes, speed is everything. It's going to keep gaining speed here, unfortunately. It's burning off, the flaps are working. Coming down. Coming down. About 120 at the moment. Don't know if we can get it slower. And we're down. We can tap W. And we're pretty safely on the ground. In fact, I'm so safely on the ground, I can taxi. And we could go off again and fly again. We can rearm, we can do all those sorts of things. We'll park it there like so. And then it can just be rolled back into the hangar. How cool is that? As for shutdown, what do you need to do for shutdown? Well, I've just got the throttle all the way back. I am going to bring up the light just to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to bring this all the way back. I'm going to bring that one all the way back. So those two. We'll just have a quick look at the fuel gauges so you can see what they're like. We did use the external drop tanks and we got rid of them. As you can see, they're gone. To make it easier to see that they're gone, I'm just going to close off the landing lights. You can see they're definitely gone from the wings. Then we're just going to slide over. And we're going to change this to the center, that to the center. Take that off. We can pull those two. Then we can go down to here and turn this off. So that's gone. We can open our windows. And we can turn off our lighting. Turn all of that off. That's all off already, so that's okay. Pretty cool. We can change that and change this one under here. So that's those two done. We can also get a spot so we can climb out of the plane. And you could apply the parking brake, but that's pretty much it. I'm going to take off the light. Have a look at this really cool little model. Hope that helps. And thank you for watching.